It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by SureHold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, SureHold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
If boating's your game, then you agree. ShipShape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, ShipShape means trouble-free. ShipShape means being neater. ShipShape makes boat work easier. ShipShape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Care Show.
It's great to have you working around the boat with us. I'm John Greviskis. What I'm doing here is I'm setting my skill saw to a 45-degree angle so I can cut the plug on our 1978 Stamas project boat. You might remember a couple of weeks back, Nick and I started this project by removing the engine and outdrive in order to make room for a bracket and outboard power. Well, last week we got into the transom when we found some petroleum-soaked wood. We needed to cut that out, as well as trim back some of the inner liner. And then we worked with Wellman Enterprises' Craig Mitchell on forming this new plug. That pretty much brings us up to today, where we're going to install it and show you how to do some fiberglass layup, as well as how to work with some different epoxies. Get ready. We're about to teach you how to make your boat shipshape.
ShipShape, America's favorite boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by
Brevard Boat Sales, Florida's East Coast Sea Ray dealer. And by WLRQ, Light Rock 99.3 FM. Copcoat Marine Group, makers of Pettit, Woosley, and Z-Spar Marine Paints. Boaters World Discount Marine Centers. Real low prices guaranteed.
We now return to ShipShape TV.
Welcome back to the show. This is the plug that we're going to use to close in our transom. And what we did last week is we took two pieces of 3/4-inch plywood and we laminated them together using some epoxy. Now, Nick, why couldn't we have just used stainless steel screws instead?
Well, John, if we'd have bonded these pieces of wood together and used stainless steel screws to hold them together, the stainless would have rotted out.
It's stainless steel. Why would it rot out?
Well, it is stainless. What happens is when you take the oxygen away from the stainless steel, it loses its stainless steel properties and begins to break down, therefore rotting the wood as it breaks down.
Well, we've laid out our plug. Let's go ahead and cut it.
Sure.
Safety glasses on. Here we go. Okay, Nick, why don't you get suited up and I'll walk us into the boat.
Alrighty.
Well, you might remember last week we had that problem with our transom wood. We had some oil that got soaked into it, and Nick was chiseling it out of the transom. Nick, can you tell us what's been going on?
Well, John, we've gotten down in here where this oil-soaked wood was at the bottom, and I've dug it and chiseled it all the way out and gotten down back to raw fiberglass. I've then taken a grinder and I've had to grind a 45 in all this wood to match the 45 in the plug that was made. Now, another thing we had to do with the grinder is every place that we overlap and lay new pieces of glass in, we have to have ground down fiberglass. Whenever we bond new glass to old glass, we've got to grind it to give it a good bonding surface. Got a little bit left here. I'll show you what's going on. me that plug, John. We'll see how it fits.
There you go.
Okay.
How's she look?
It's pretty good. We got to hand grind these corners a little bit. Let's do that. Let's see how that looks. That's it. We're getting there. Well, what we've done in the essence of time is we've gone ahead and built another one. And on this one, after it's been all ground and fit, I've taken and epoxy coated all the edges to get a little better bond also.
Now, how are we going to bond this in?
Well, what we're going to do, John, is mix up some cabosil and epoxy, and the cabosil thickens the epoxy, and we're going to make a putty.
So it's going to act like a paste, and we'll kind of just stick it in there.
Yeah, make it nice and thick so it doesn't fall when we spread it. Okay, this is a 2-to-1 epoxy, so we're going to go 2 parts of resin to 1 part hardener. So I'm going to go 16 ounces resin and then 8 ounces hardener to bring me to 24. Let's see. There's our 16. Now, if this were a polyester or even a vinyl ester resin, you could vary the amount of hardener. And if you varied the hardener, you can go a little less if it's a hot day, a little more if it's a cold day. And that way you could fluctuate your window of cure time. But with the epoxies, you can't do that. You've got to mix them according to specifications. It's real important. I'm going to put in some cabosil so we can thicken this up. And cabosil is basically a thickening agent. It doesn't hurt the properties of the epoxy. It doesn't make it any more or less brittle. It's just giving us that paste we're looking for. Get that stirred in. You can see it turning nice and thick there.
Once we get everything mixed, we need to apply a bed on our transom where we ground down here. What we did is we chopped up some fiberglass mat just to give us a little extra sticking power here, a little filler. Now, Nick, how are we going to hold this wood in place?
What I'm going to do, John, is I'm going to go from the outside. You can see the screw holes running around where that old transom boot was.
Right.
And we'll set the plug in, and as you hold it in place, I'll draw it in with a screw gun and some screws, and we'll lock it right in there.
Well, this stuff's starting to kick. Why don't you head on down and see if we can get it going.
All right, here's a squeegee if you need it.
Yeah, I'm going to need that. Grab that here.
That's it.
There it comes. I'm putting it in.
Ship Shape TV will be right back. Patricia Lopo of Miami, Florida asks, what happens if I have a dispute with a repair facility and it keeps my boat? Answer coming up from maritime attorney Gail Hawks right after these messages.
Do it all with a SureHold telescoping handle. Designed with the easy-to-use SureLock quick release system, compatible with over 50 different attachments, transforming it into a deck brush handle, squeegee handle, swivel pad base handle, chamois mop handle, camera handle, floor broom handle, boat hook handle, water blade handle, landing net handle, even a threaded handle for equipment you already own, and more. Fully telescopic for easy storage or adjusting to the perfect length. Each SureHold telescoping handle is proudly made in the USA and is truly The one handle that does it all. SureHold. Clean and simple.
Here is today's maritime law question. What happens if I have a dispute with a repair facility and it keeps my boat?
The first thing you need to do is take a look at your contract with the repair facility. It's going to determine the rights and obligations between the parties. If, however, you have an oral agreement rather than a written contract, your claim is going to be a little more difficult to prove. What you don't want to do is ignore the situation because under Florida law, a repair facility may sell your boat for non-payment. As soon as you know there's a problem, you need to get an attorney involved.
And now back to the project.
It's going to take a little bit of time for our epoxy to cure, so let's show you some of the different fiberglass materials that are available, as well as the ones we're going to use on this particular project. Now, the first one I want to show you is called a fiberglass mat, and basically this is 1.5 ounces fiberglass mat. What that means is if you took a square yard of this material, it would weigh 1.5 ounces. That's how they measure fiberglass. And this material is really not recommended for any structural support. It's more of a cosmetic material. Boat builders will use this as a layer in between their gel coat that they first spray in the mold and a material they call roving woven, which is a biaxial, and it's good for support. I've got some roving woven right here. And basically this is 18-ounce roving woven. It weighs 18 ounces at square yard, and it's a very strong material. What the mat will do is it will actually alleviate something that's called print through. I don't know if you've ever seen a checkerboard on the side of a hull or on a deck, and it's actually this roving woven. Well, they didn't put enough fiberglass mat. We're going to use something a little different, Nick. What are we going to look at?
John, we're going to use a 1708 knitted biaxial. So we have 17 ounce worth of material. And the reason I like the knitted biaxials are, if you look, we have a 45 degree. We've got strands running this way and this way. What that gives me is good unilateral tie-in strength. If I'm going to attach a bulkhead or a stringer to a boat, as I apply it, I'm having strands running in 2 different directions, giving me a good solid bond. The other reason I like this is it has the mat built right in it, so we can take a step out of the process. If we were to lay a woven roving, normally you would put a mat in between. You wouldn't go layer after layer of woven roving. It helps in the bonding process. So here we take a step out. And the other thing is, on your woven rovings with that checkerboard, you get a lot of gaps in between the strands. And the more resins or epoxies that are in those gaps, the more brittle the layup is. So this takes away some of that as well.
How much more expensive is this material?
It's probably 25 to 35% more, but I think, especially in a small patch like we're doing, it's worth a couple extra dollars.
Great. Well, right now we want to take a look at this new boat that's out on the water. Let's have a look.
My assignment this week is to check out the first ever, never seen before, new Sea Ray mid-cabin 290 Sundancer. This boat is equipped with twin MerCruiser 4.3-liter V6 stern drives. I'm really impressed with how quiet and smooth these engines are. The twin stern drives make maneuvering around the fuel dock a piece of cake. Cruise is a comfortable 25 miles per hour with a top speed of 40, making long trips seem brief. Visibility over the bow is exceptional considering its high decks. This boat rides naturally through the water with almost no need for the standard trim tabs. The 10-foot 2 beam gives this 29-footer the ride that some 40-foot sedans would envy.
Mainly I purchased the Sea Ray because of the quality of the boat. We've had other boats before and they just don't compare. This boat drives very easily, and I absolutely love it.
With more than 50 models ranging from 14 to 65 feet, Sea Ray is the world's largest manufacturer of superior quality pleasure boats. That's real obvious here on the 290 Sundancer. All 8 Sea Ray manufacturing facilities have been certified by the International Organization of Standards. Sea Ray is the only recreational boat company to receive the most stringent evaluation in the boating world, ISO 9002.
The reason the Sea Ray's resale value is so high is the incredible amount of workmanship that goes into every Sea Ray. Some of the boats are built on Merritt Island, and we do factory tours, so come on down and sign up for a tour.
This portside wet bar stands ready for entertaining. This convenient cockpit dining table with sun pads is standard. Full-size transom door eases access to the large swim platform with built-in retractable ladder. I did notice a need for a grab rail when climbing up with dive gear on. This convenient fender locker is also located at the stern. Controls are easily reached with good view of the custom gauges from this double helm seat with flip-up thigh rise. Below, the first thing I noticed was the open layout and natural flow. The head is located just inside with plenty of storage and a large shower. Laid out for convenience, the galley offers a large sink, dual burner stove, refrigerator-freezer combo, and microwave. This boat is also equipped with air conditioning and generator. Turning this sofa into a dining room is easy. Just remove the table from under the forward bunk and pop it in place. The mid-cabin conversion is spacious and unique. The bolster cushions double as the bunk filler pad, covering more storage. Large closets are big enough for full-length dresses and formal wear. This full-size forward bunk has a curtain that, when pulled, offers total privacy.
We're Brevard Boat Sales. We've been a Sea Ray dealer for 3 years now, and we're very excited to be the Sea Ray dealer. We do a lot of fun things with our customers. We have the Getaways programs where we do trips with our customers. We're going to the Bahamas this summer. It's just a lot of fun. Can't beat owning a Sea Ray.
With sleeping accommodations for 6 people and a complete galley, the 290 Sundancer makes a great getaway boat. By far the best designed mid-cabin boat in the industry. This boat scores high in the engineering, layout, looks, and functionality categories. I'm Elizabeth Saunders reporting for ShipShape TV.
What'd you think of that one?
Looked good, John.
I can't wait to get this one out on the water.
Me too.
Now, we left off before we looked at that boat, learning the different fiberglasses that are available. Now, we're going to use the knitted biaxial, the 1708, and we're going to apply it to the transom. Nick, how much epoxy have you mixed up?
I mixed up a little more than a quart for this area here.
Okay.
Probably a little more, but better safe than sorry.
Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to wet the area out. And what that means is we're going to take like a throwaway brush. We're going to take our epoxy and we're going to wet the whole area that we're going to be covering. And we're going to be coming out about an inch overlap on all sides, including the bottom. So I'll go ahead and start that. Getting a nice, thick, generous amount of epoxy, putting it on there. Nick, I think we're ready. Can you help me lay that sheet out?
Right. Grab that side there.
Sure. And again, we want to come about an inch overlap.
Looking over that side, good?
We're looking good.
Alright,
now
a little more on top.
Yeah, I'll do that. And then if you could get the roller, we'll start rolling this material out. Now, what are we looking to do here, Nick?
Well, we need to spread the epoxy into the fiberglass fibers, and unfortunately the nature of the beast of epoxy is it absorbs a little slower than most other resins.
Right.
And you can see it, like here I started to roll and already it's like sucking it in, which is good. But we want to get all the air out, and we got to work out every little bit of white spots, because if there's air, there's no sense in having anything because there's nothing bonded in between.
So we want to make this totally transparent.
Transparent, and at the same time we don't want too much epoxy because the resin, whether it's epoxy or polyester or whatever, believe it or not, the resin is the weakest part of any laminate. The structure is in the material.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons when we were talking about different types of material before that I'm not a real big fan of using the woven rovens. It's a good heavy building agent, a lot of real strong structural strength, but it takes a lot of resin or epoxy or what have you to get it all wetted out, which gives you that weak point again. In between all those squares of woven roven, you've got all this built up material and you get your brittleness.
Well, I think when we finish this, how about if we put a couple of layers on the outside and let it cure for the night? It's going to probably take about 12 hours, don't you think?
Here's what's coming up next on ShipShape TV.
The SureHold One Bucket System is your storage and detailing solution. Featuring an ergonomic corrosion-free rope handle, a bucket caddy to organize your supplies and lift them out with ease. A bucket grate to elevate your wash tools out of dirty water with integrated soap measuring cups. A bucket base that won't let your bucket scratch, tip, or slip. And a bucket lid that keeps tools secure and doubles as a comfortable seat. The SureHold One Bucket System, the world's best rope handle 5-gallon bucket. SureHold, clean and simple.
We now return to shipshape.
We needed to let our epoxy set up overnight. And now we need to skip grind the area. Now remember, this is our first layer of 3 layers of glass that we're going to be putting on. And if you can see, there's some smooth areas in between our layer of fiberglass and the old glass here. And we basically need to skip grind the area to give us some nice adhesion surface for our new glass. Let me go ahead and get my dust mask on and my goggles. Now, I've also got some contaminants in the original glass down here. I've got some brown spots. I don't know if you can see those, but we need to take those out as well because our next layer is going to overlap up to here and down on the hull. We're going to get those knocked out. I need to blow the area. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some acetone and wipe the area down, giving us a nice clean surface for us to put our second layer of glass on. Do a nice wipe down here. Nick, can you mix up some epoxy?
All right, John, one step ahead of you.
Great. I'm going to take my dust mask off. I like to smell the epoxy. This is what makes me a little wacky.
A little?
Well, now what we need to do is, again, we need to coat this area in a nice, thick manner, getting it ready for our 1708 biax. Nick, I about got this. Can you grab the glass? Again, what we want to do is we want to saturate this material real well. You have your roller?
Well, that about does it in here. We've already got our 3 layers on the outside and they're all set up. But I'm a lousy finish man, so I'm going to let John take over.
What I had to do is I had to take our grinder and knock the high points down, and then I took a pad sander, got everything nice and smooth. I wiped the area down with some acetone, and now I'm using some 3M marine filler. What I like about this product is it's watertight below the water line. We're going to build the area up a little bit and then we'll knock it down in our sanding progression. First we'll use a cheese grater. Well, that's about all the time we have for this week's show. I'd like to again thank Glue Products for donating the fiberglass and all the materials. Until next week, guys, keep your boat ship shape. Yeah, I'll just keep filling this area up here, Nick, and then I'll get my cheese grater. This is what makes me a little wacky.
A little.
If you have any questions for us, write them down and send them to ShipShape TV. Attention Project Director, P.O. Box 31561, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida.